All right, Mark, here we are, another Thursday. Let's hop into it. What do people need to know when it comes down to crypto and comprehensive wealth? You got a question for me?
I do. To kick things off, this is going to be less outlook related and more maybe philosophical. So, as you know, we're in a bear market by all definitions. And for folks who've been in the crypto or more specifically Bitcoin space for a while, this isn't uncommon, but it always feels tough, right? It always feels gut wrenching when we're going through these periods that are either difficult to explain or prolonged. I guess my question to you, for the folks who've been in the space for a while, who they understand that this works in cycles, why is the psychology so difficult to manage? Why is it so tough to endure knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel? In your mind, what do you think the biggest problem and hurdle is?
Yep. So what ends up happening is a lot of people that have wealth, right, with like a traditional advisor, those advisors and the products that they put them in, the returns are usually between like 9 and 12%. And so even like last year when the S&P had a really big year and it was up, I think almost 30% around that level, a lot of advisors underperformed that. And what they've learned from like 2008 was like, all right, when volatility is high, we don't want to have that drawdown in accounts. Our clients can't handle it. So then also when the stock market is usually down, these guys are not down as much. And so JP Morgan, Schwab, Fidelity, they've all created like these products, structured notes that kind of keeps people in this lane. So let's just call it an average of 10% a year return. They get a 1% fee. That fee is 10% of that return, but it's really a lower volatility. Don't upset the stomach. It's very predictable. And people kind of get used to that. Now they come to Bitcoin and they see something that's done these multiples. And generally what happens every time somebody's a first time investor in Bitcoin is it goes against them within the first year. It's like it's like initiation to be a Bitcoin holder. And for something that they see in the charts that has gone up so much, or so many people that have created wealth to experience the drawdown the other way inside a year, whether it's 20%, 30%, or even 60%, it's like hard to take. And even though they've seen in the cycles or they've been in the cycles in past bear markets, 2022, right? Like 2022 was bad. Sam Bankman Fried, you had the Luna implosion. Years have gone by, the price went up. And then when it goes up like it did and it broke above 100, it was like that was the new bottom. Like everyone expected, because last year we spent 5 months above 100K and now here we are below it. That this doesn't feel right again. And they just don't remember, like, this is just what happens. We just can't have the rocket shot straight up. And so I think that it's really, we set these new higher highs and then it's like subconsciously we just hope it never goes back there, and people kind of upgrade their lives to it and they make mental plans for it and they don't sell any and then they wish they would, and here they are. So yeah, that's what I think makes it tough. But it's the opportunity zone, right? Nobody's positive. It's below the 200-day moving average. In our letter that we just put out, we just broke down the 5 sectors. Stocks are high, real estate's high, gold's high, fixed income markets. What are you really going to do here, right? Like, there's not that much edge. Maybe you're getting 3.5% in like an overnight ETF that's tied to treasuries. Not that appealing. Uh, Bitcoin's the only thing that's on discount here, right? And so you have the asset that you should be allocating to in these times, and we're starting to see some people do it. So people with significant wealth in their traditional investments are feeling frothy. They're up quite a bit, and they are considering now selling some high and reallocating to Bitcoin low here. And I think that now that kind of MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor kind of get moved to the background, it's not really a story anymore because there is guidelines. I think the only thing people are waiting for is just for them to go, okay, we did sell some, we told you, and now we're really just going to move on from them. And that's the overhang I think the space needs to get on from. And we're gonna see people start allocating to it over the next probably 2 months. I think things are gonna change for the positive.
I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's that short memory psychology that we all go through, independent of how long we've been in the space. It's sort of that human nature that we're always fighting against. And it's tough. I think the good news is for folks who, work with people who are well informed in the space, hopefully they can have a voice of guidance to sort of pulling them along. And it's difficult. And I think that rotation theory concept, I'm hopeful that's going to play out, because a lot of stuff in the tech sector, some of these fringe sort of individual stocks, they've run up pretty significantly, and likely some of this capital is going to rotate back into Bitcoin. So I'm excited, looking forward to the months ahead.
And something to like kind of go on that point and to close out like this topic that we're on is, it was gold first, right? Gold had its run. Nobody's really talking about that. And it may have had its peak, right? And then everything chased the AI stocks and then semiconductors, right? But if you actually look to OpenAI, has this vision of going public at $1 trillion valuation, maybe more to just chase Elon and SpaceX. But like the private rounds, they probably need that $1 trillion valuation. And if they're not going to get it, there's people that invested in rounds at a higher valuation than really it's worth, because look now, 6 out of the 10 top AI platforms are Chinese based at a lower agent cost. To me, AI is obviously it's great, but what I'm talking about in the AI business is like businesses that actually create AI, open AI, Chat GPT, then use AI to improve their business. Their competitors do the same thing. And so we've talked about this before. It's just going to be a rotation. Who's got the best one? Who's got the best one? And moving around. And I don't think that's to the benefit of these big companies at the market cap or the valuation that they're demanding out there. And I think the investors are going to start to realize that. And yeah, it's going to be, where do we go next? You can't chase real estate. Stocks are high. Already chase gold. You can't do prediction markets. It's a zero-sum game. You got to come back to something like Bitcoin for the diversification mechanism. So that leads me to my question. All right. A person asked you, hey, I got capital. What do I invest in? Should I invest in Bitcoin here? But like, why? It doesn't seem like there's a good story around it. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think good question. My first response is always, take a minute, breathe, don't react to the public narratives on, Twitter, X, or some headlines on CNBC, because anybody who's been around in the public markets, in the, crypto space more broadly over the last few years, they've seen these things ebb and flow, right? The narrative itself continues to ebb and flow. It's the flavor of the day. So automatically anything you're seeing online, take at a discount and do the homework. Like, do your work. It's like we talked about earlier, it's really important to like align yourself with people who are doing the research day in, day out, who understand the fundamentals. When we talk about Bitcoin, it's clear that the fundamentals are the same, and the same reason it was driving adoption, both institutional and retail, for many, many years. All those reasons still hold true. And if not more today, we could go on and on about what's happening on the institutional side, how a lot of listeners are going to see it roll out in a bunch of different places in the months ahead if they haven't already. And these are indicators, right? You have large institutions who see at a fundamental level, the tech is still strong. The quantum narrative is not as scary as a lot of people believe. MicroStrategy or strategy, while critical to aspects of the ecosystem, is not the sole component or pillar to this, right? At the end of the day, Bitcoin, for all of its elements, fundamentally, when we think of sound money principles, are all still there, right? The peer-to-peer electronic cash system narrative still holds true, will continue to. So I would suggest folks do the work and understand it. The next piece I would say is when we look at, if you zoom out enough and you see certain assets that really have distinct characteristics, it's clear that Bitcoin is unique, right? Because of the finite supply, it's unlike most other assets out there. And when you look at the cycles historically that's gone through, there's a reason there, right? There's a fundamental reason, independent on your view on the cause of the 4-year cycle or your confidence in the 4-year cycle. There's some pattern at play. And if you still fundamentally believe that Bitcoin is not going to zero, I think the counter argument then believes that it's likely to go higher than it is today. Last thing I'll say is, because I don't think price is the most important indicator about any metric, but it's an indicator of interest and adoption. And if we think Bitcoin price is going to go up in the future, it should tell you something about what's happening under the covers on how it's being implemented and integrated into larger systems, how folks are using it as money and transacting with it. And all the metrics are showing the right signals over a long enough time horizon. So long way of saying, answer to your question, pause, ignore the distractions, do the research, zoom out. When you see the pattern like we tend to see it, looks pretty attractive, particularly at these levels. And I think if you're not leaning in, I would challenge you to ask yourself, when is a better time to lean in? The newsletter, you all did a great job in pointing out, this is now the time. If you want to see those gains, you don't buy at the tops. You buy when everybody thinks there's blood on the streets. And I can't remember a more recent time in history with compared to now. So that would be the advice I give, but curious to hear your response to the same question.
Yeah, it's the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's what social media needs to get your eyeballs to get paid. Negativity sells way more than positivity. It's just the way it is. And what I tell people, and it's amazing how many forget that there's a fixed supply of 21 million units. Like, this asset is an alternative store of value. And yes, the price can go down at times, but when you back out and look at the chart with these 4-year cycles, and maybe the cycles change in the future, and maybe we don't end on October 6th and go higher from there. Maybe it happens sooner. This asset would be zero if there wasn't a big belief system in it. This is going to move higher. You are in the best diversification asset you can be in. Why? Because of there's barely any correlation. It's not zero correlation to the stock market here, right? It's independent of gold. It's a better form of store value than gold because of its liquidity. You have the 21 million fixed supply. The creator's removed, but you're also diversified away from the banking system. 2008, it was a long time ago. Things look great now, but if you look at, like, I was just talking to a guy in New York City, with what's going on with people being elected there, it's bad. And we need sound money, sound investments. And I was, and that's what I would say is, like, look, like, you're up in other accounts. It's time to rotate. And this is the sound one. And another day will come for the reason why Bitcoin was created in 2008, when there's financial uncertainty. Now, this leads me to something else just to say. The color I got from the street this week, trading wise, is there's been a lot of upside call sellers. It's the miners. It's what they got to do to fund HPC and their equipment as they do AI stuff. Okay, great. Good for them. 450 units a day. It's not a ton of units that comes available to these miners. I think the miner reward going forward, it just gets smaller and smaller in the halving. It's less units that impact the market. We just need to move on from that and where it goes. Non-story there in reality. But okay, that's interesting color that they're selling calls because they want to collect some money or get called away from their position and get paid to do that. But I think there's been an emergence of people selling puts to get put into Bitcoin. And what does that mean? Well, when we look at wealth management for clients, it's, hey, you've got new cash coming in, you got a couple $1 million to deploy in the space. We'd like a level lower than here somewhere, not to give our internal strategies away, but we want to sell puts against that and collect some money while we're waiting to get the Bitcoin put to us in the account. And we're not alone in that. I'm starting to get some vibes from some other people and bigger institutions that's starting to happen. And I think what ends up really happening is Bitcoin doesn't go down to those levels. A month or two goes by. They collect their premium on those. They collect 2/3 to 3/4 of the premium. And then they go, wait, we've built a hell of a base here. October's coming. These treasury companies are done selling what they have. Don't sell again. Just buy the units is what I think is coming.
I could definitely see that happening. And we're in an interesting space where there's so many different aspects of the market that are playing off each other. And I think all the rational actors in the space recognize that sometimes the smartest thing is to do nothing and just do what you were doing at the outset, and that's be long, understand what Bitcoin is, do the research, listen to the fundamentals, and fortunately, we've been in the space long enough to know that usually plays out. So, yeah, I think great advice, and I'm excited to see where things head, whether it goes up or down. We know in the long term the direction it's heading. It's important that we bring as many people along for the ride as possible.
Well, I hope we get some fireworks this weekend, right? The figurative and the literal and the figurative. The figurative one is Bitcoin's price going up. All right, everyone. That's it. That's Mark over there on that side. I'm Bryan. Thanks for watching today. Bye. This is for educational purposes only, not personalized financial advice. All investments, including crypto, carry risk, including loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results.